Hey guys, welcome back to more Reddit HOA Karen stories. In this video, a homeowner association president sent me a $250,000 fine letter claiming my farm violated their bylaws for years. The thing is, I've never joined this HOA. Let's dive right into the video. So I met the single most entitled lady in the world about a year ago. Before I get more into her though, I want to paint a mental picture of my farm for everybody and how life was before she came barreling into it. So I own a farm. It's not like some giant one that rolls out millions of products a day. It's just a small local farm that is family run and operated. I have a few animals and I sell the excess milk and eggs I get from them at local farmers markets. I do not want to pretend like it's an easy life or anything. It's a lot of work running a farm, and I could probably write several pages on just how complicated cows are, but I digress. One thing that I want to make clear is that despite being a farm, it's not a pigsty. I make sure things are clean and organized, and that has been the case with every farm I've ever seen. You cannot run one with mess and chaos, but some things like cows smelling like cows just are not controllable. And I mention that because when this crazy woman shows up, that is one thing she will complain about. Okay, so enough backstory, let's get into this woman. I guess from internet standards, she would be considered a Karen, not really in looks or anything, but she had this entitled attitude to match it. There is an HOA in my neighborhood, but my farm is not actually part of it. The farm had been around before all of these private homes were built. I never had an issue with the HOA before, since the people running it knew that my farm was just not part of it. I mean, the farm was my home, but it was a farm. I'm sure if I wanted to be in the HOA, I could be, but I never even got asked. That is really how relaxed the old HOA was. Now, this HOA Karen just shows up and instead of easing into the position, starts being aggressive right away. I had no idea who she was at first. The main people I knew were just the ones that would regularly buy milk and eggs from me at the farmer's market. This is a woman I've never seen before. I don't know if she was new to the neighborhood or just new to the position. Whatever the case was, it didn't take long before her becoming the HOA president and showing up to my property when I was trying to get some actual work done. Not just doing whatever she called work. Karen, can I speak to you for a second? I already did not like the tone in her voice and I wish I said no and just walked off. But me, sure, but I only have a couple of minutes. Karen, I'm the new HOA president and I noticed that your farm is violating many of our bylaws. Me, I think you might be confused. My farm is not actually in the HOA. I thought it would be a good enough explanation for her and she would just leave and move on. Instead, she got this angry look on her face as if I just insulted her. Karen, actually your farm needs to follow all of the same rules since it is within the HOA. This is not an optional one. I don't know why she put the word farm in air quotes or why she just wanted to act like my farm was part of the HOA when I knew it wasn't. I tried to explain myself better, just on the off chance that things were just a big misunderstanding. Me, my property is grandfathered in. It existed before the HOA, so I actually have a choice and I decided not to join the HOA. Karen, you cannot just make things up because you don't want to follow the rules. I'm going to be sending you a list of the issues with this property and I suggest you fix them before we start fining you. Honestly, I see violations going back for so many years. I'm amazed you've gotten away with it for this long. You should be grateful that I'm giving you a chance to fix it first. She left, and I was left, well, very confused to be honest. It was like nothing that came out of my mouth even registered in her head. I didn't even know yet what she was going to be complaining about because I thought my farm was just totally fine. And her claiming I should be grateful on top of that just reeked of entitlement. And to tell you all the truth, I don't like conflict at all. So if I got a letter from her saying she wanted me to fix something and it was minor and unimportant, I probably would have just given in. I know that's not the right thing to do since it gives a power-hungry person even more power, but I really hate conflict. So if she wanted a minor change, I would have been willing to do it. I got her letter and the more I read it, the more I realized that this was gonna be a big problem. Her tiny list was anything but tiny. The problems she had with my farm were basically every single thing. I won't mention it all here since it's redundant and I would be stuck typing for a while. I will tell you some of the worst things she wrote on the list. A couple of them were in direct reference to my animals. She was saying that the HOA had a no loud noises after 10 p.m. policy, and I was breaking that with my animals. And by the way, guys, I'm curious, wouldn't the HOA Karen screeching every night also be a violation of that policy? Just curious. Anyway, she really expected me to be able to just make sure cows and chickens didn't make noises at night. I mean, they are animals, they don't have a sense of time the same way we do. They know light versus dark, and I guess sometimes they will wake up at night and moo or cluck. Animals just do those things. Along with the other things she was complaining about, she said that the animals smelled and I had to fix that. I have zero clue how she expected me to magically change how they smelled. They smelled like animals. I was cleaning their waste, so that was not the smell. Despite that being another thing, she was claiming that I leave their waste all over the place, which is a downright lie. Animals, especially cows, have a strong smell naturally. I cannot make them smell like lavender and roses. The other complaints had to do with my farm and the equipment itself. My tractor being rusted out and an eyesore, which was a lie, my house literally falling apart, another lie, and the list honestly just kept going on, pointing out every single thing about my property and why it was wrong. I didn't do anything though, because it was insane, but more importantly, because I was not part of this HOA. And by the way, guys, I just noticed that has to be one of the most useless phrases of all time, because it gets ignored every single time. The "I'm not part of the HOA." It makes sense to say it, but if nobody listens to it, I guess it's kind of pointless. Anyway, even if their standards were this crazy, I did not have to follow them, so I just ignored it and went on with my life. Then I got another letter from the HOA, suddenly listing a ton of fines for not fixing my alleged violations. Each one with a fine amount, and at the end was my grand total of what the HOA was saying I owed them. It was $250,000. I was kind of in shock for a while, just staring at it, showing it to my wife and oldest son. They were just as concerned about everything. And if you want to know how the fines added up to that much, well, it was because she was citing me for stuff over years of fake violations, basically saying that each thing was being fined multiple times for years in the past, plus even adding late fees. Yeah, late fees for fines that I just gotten for the first time. I don't know exactly what to do, but I figured the first thing would be to show proof that my farm existed before the HOA, so that meant I was not part of it. I didn't really have anything else, so I took it and went to the HOA office to try and show them. Sadly, Karen was the person there at the time. Me, I wanted to show you the papers showing you that I'm not in the HOA, and I want the fines taken away. Karen, I don't care what papers you have. You are within the HOA, so you follow our rules. It's really simple. I gave you a chance to fix the issues. Me, most of these things are just lies. You cannot just expect me to pay for this. Karen, actually we do, and if you fail to do so, then we will just go ahead and sue you for it. I know your property is worth at least that. It is large enough to fit multiple other homes in it. We have very good lawyers working for us. Ah, so this is what everything was really about. They saw my big property and wanted to turn it into multiple homes. Homes that would be forced into the HOA and their stupid rules, fines, and most importantly dues. I left knowing that I was not gonna get any kind of justice. I hated Karen and the fact that she thought she could threaten my family, my home, and my livelihood. She was in for an awakening, and it was not gonna be pretty. I did speak to a lawyer friend who basically told me that while the HOA was in the wrong, that didn't mean that they couldn't try to sue me. With their money and resources, they could drag out a lawsuit and make my life hell if they sued me. Just because somebody is right does not mean that a lawsuit always goes their way either. I wanted revenge on Karen. One thing I haven't mentioned yet about Karen is that she's a totally fake person. She has a lot of the people of the community thinking she's doing great and amazing things as the president. She has her close group of people that just need to come to her with a complaint and she will slap a fine on somebody. She's a power giant and I was gonna be the person to make sure that she gets toppled. I started paying close attention to Karen and the rest of the HOA board and also finding and reading the bylaws. It turns out that Karen, the board and their friends were taking full advantage of their privilege. Doing my own research, I found the best way to start doing things was documentation. A paper trail could go a long way, especially if I added some photos. And well, I did not spend a long time looking for things and after a couple of weeks found more than I would ever need. I found that Karen built a pool in her backyard. I found board members having loud parties and friends getting away with decorations, just a ton of things that were not allowed within the bylaws. However, they got away with it because of their connections. Then I was ready for step 2, taking things to social media. I created a page that at first looked like it was trying to get the community together. It was private and I invited everybody that I could from the neighborhood, not including the HOA and their friends. Then I started making posts with photos of everything that I found, that they were breaking all of their own rules with zero consequence. And then the big post came with me asking if anybody had gotten fines for things they shouldn't have, not even mentioning my farm yet. Well, that post got flooded with people complaining about unfair fines. Finally, I was posting my story of what happened with my farm, and people were legitimately upset. I mean, they were upset before because of their own fines, but now I had them upset for me and on my side with things. I had the numbers now, and that's the kind of power that money just cannot buy. I made a post that everybody should go to the next HOA meeting with their BS fines in hand, and we were going to make, I guess, a call to action against Karen. More people than I thought actually showed up at the meeting. As soon as it was open for the public to say things, everybody started talking about their fake fines or fines for things that the HOA themselves got away with, pointing out that their friends were getting away with everything and people they didn't like were getting slammed. I even made a comment about the $250,000 they wanted from me despite not even being in the HOA. It was not crazy like out of a movie or anything. People were civil taking their turns, and the more people spoke, the more nervous Karen seemed to be getting. She was being exposed as a hypocrite and didn't have a single good excuse that she could make for herself about the entire thing. The entire HOA board basically got forced to step down from their positions. New temporary people were voted in, and eventually a new board was voted on too. Of course, I did not vote since I didn't have the right to. The social media page pretty much died down immediately after that meeting, but I did not want to delete it. It was a reminder, and if anything bad happened with the future board, it could be a good place for people to talk about it. Well, I got a letter from the new HOA a week or so after it was all finalized. It went on for a while, apologizing for the actions of the previous board going beyond their scope to send me fines, telling me that all fines were officially dropped and I didn't owe them a single penny, and promising to put in some official paperwork on there and showing that I predate the HOA so I won't get bothered again. And yeah guys, props to OP for beating that HOA. Remember, never mess with a farmer. The next one was posted on r/RipeStories and it is titled "How My Classmate Got One Over on Our Teacher," posted by user AliveSalas2604. So I recently reconnected with some former classmates through Facebook. While we were chatting it up, some of our class clowning moments came into fold. However, this story was not one of them. It randomly popped into my head while I was collecting hangers at my job. This is relevant. Some of the details are a bit fuzzy because it happened in the late 1980s, but the focal point is pretty clear. So I was in 3rd grade when our teacher, Mrs. Jackson, isn't that a song? One of my biggest role models, gave us a project that involved wire hangers. All we had to do was bring in 10 hangers for the project. If you didn't, then you had to write 100 reasons explaining why you did not bring them. Mrs. Jackson was a beautiful professional lady who was about nurturing and not belittling students. She could be strict when needed. While most of the class, including myself, brought hangers, one kid named Lawrence did not bring any hangers, so he had to write his essay. Lawrence was a good kid who was on the nice list and was never a problem student. So as he began to write, he was stuck creating explanations, so I simply asked him, "Does your mom have a lot of clothes?" "Yeah," Lawrence replied with a dejected look on his face. I told him to count all the dresses, shirts and coats in your mom's closet and you will be done. Cue malicious compliance. As I went back to doing the hangers project, Lawrence was in a good mood as he was done in 10 minutes. His essay read as follows: "I could not bring any hangers because of my mother's 20 dresses, 15 pants, my sister's 10 dresses, my father's 10 suits, 10 coats, 10 pants, and my 25 pieces of clothes." Whatever it was, the amount added up to 100 reasons for each article of clothing in his household. Lawrence gave Mrs. Jackson his paper, but not without her eyebrows being raised. As Mrs. Jackson read Lawrence's paper, she had a look on her face that wanted to laugh her pants off, but she kept it together. In the end, Lawrence was free to join another student or do something productive. However, to this day I just crack up when I see a bunch of hangers at a department store or at a family member's house. And the next one is titled "She Wanted a Bagel, but What She Got Was Banned," posted by user HuskSaysNo on r/RipeStories as well. So alright, this took place in 2016 in southern Florida. I, 27 female, had just turned 18 back then. I was barely surviving my first 2 jobs and eating more bread bowls than any human should. One of those jobs was good old Panera Bread, land of limp lettuce and Karen stampedes. I was going through hell at the time, burnt out, broke and clinging to minimum wage like it was life support. Somehow they promoted me to assistant manager after 6 months. Still not sure if that was a compliment or just punishment with extra steps, but anyway, if you've ever been to a Panera, you already know it's a mecca for middle-aged suburbanites who think their My Panera card entitles them to diplomatic immunity and a seat at the Last Supper. The amount of "I know the owner" energy in that place could power a small country. So one day around 3 p.m. my general manager leaves to grab supplies from another store and puts me in charge. Just me and one cashier who's currently on break because of course the other one called out sick. So I'm flying solo at the register when she walks in. Let's call her Brittany, because Karen is tired and Brittany has earned this spotlight. We all know a bitch named Brittany. Well, I remember the biggest one that was named Brittany Karen, but let's see if this story is just as good. She's in her mid-40s, sunglasses indoors, hair that has been asking for the manager since 2007. She marches in like she owns not just this Panera but the entire city. She stomps up to the counter already scowling like I personally keyed her Lexus. Me, "Hey there, what can I get started for you today?" B, cinnamon crunch bagel, honey walnut cream cheese. I check the rack, nada, zip, not a single cinnamon crunch crumb remains. Me, "I'm really sorry ma'am, we are all out of cinnamon crunch bagels for the day, but we've got plenty of..." "No, I came here for that bagel." Me, "I get it and I apologize for the inconvenience, but we've sold out for today. I would be happy to get you something else though." B, "Why can't you just make more?" Does she think bagels just manifest out of thin air when you clap twice or something? Me, "Company policy says after 1 p.m. the ovens are reserved for baguettes only. We need them running constantly for the dinner rush. I wish I could help more." B, "Sounds like laziness to me. Are they even on? I bet they're not. Go check now." I already know those ovens at the moment were deader than my will to live, but hey, if she wants a song and dance, I will give her a Broadway number. I stroll back, peek dramatically into the kitchen, and yep, every oven, oof, quiet, cold as corporate empathy. Do I tell her that? Hell no. I walk back with the confidence of a barista who knows their tip jar is full. Me, "Yep, all our ovens are in use right now, cannot make any more bagels." Brittany does not like that though. She slams her hand on the counter and leans in like she's about to interrogate me under a dangling light bulb. B, "I want to speak to your manager." Now remember, my name tag says assistant manager in big bold letters. I pause, I slowly look down at my name tag, then back at her, but she does not read it. Or she doesn't care, but then she snaps her fingers at me like I'm a golden retriever. B, "Well, go get your manager." Ah, there it is, the eternal customer question. You want a manager? Say less. I smile, that kind of smile, you know the one. Buckle up, Becky. Me, of course, be right back. I walk calmly into the manager's office, close the door, and sit on my phone for 5 minutes, just vibing, watching her pace around on the security cam like a simmering teapot with a god complex. Once I feel sufficiently entertained, I step back out, paste on my brightest fake smile, and say, "Me, hi there, I'm the manager, how can I help you?" Y'all, she practically short-circuited. She starts screaming, grabs cups from the drink station, and yeets them across the counter, bangs her fists in full Banshee mode. I genuinely thought she was about to flip a table and speak in tongues. Customers were staring, my cashier came back from break mid-exorcism, it was incredible. We ended up calling security, she was escorted out, still screeching about calling corporate and getting me fired. Spoiler alert, I did not get fired, she got banned. All that fury over a $2.69 bagel. And that, friends, is how I learned that some people don't want solutions, they just want scorched earth and cinnamon crumbs. God bless food service, never again. Thankfully I got the heck out of Florida for good though, I'm back home in Alaska. And wow guys, I gotta say, that was one of the funniest stories we have read in a long time. Thank you so much for posting it on the subreddit. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So I got some amazing revenge on an HOA president that has been harassing me for way too long. All because she decided to take things a step too far and thought that she could use my private property for the benefit of the actual HOA members. So let me give some backstory before I get into the revenge plot. I lived in a neighborhood where the HOA was actually optional. That was great for me because I didn't want to join one, and I was happy about that when I got the house. Years passed and the HOA got a new president that actually lived on my block. She was a total Karen and her kids were no better as the ones who would spend Halloween egging cars and throwing toilet paper. The difference with Karen being the HOA president was that she wanted everybody who was not a member to join her. I told her that I was still not interested in joining, and she got angry, telling me that I had to. I told her that I didn't have to do anything. Karen loved to try and outdo everybody else by getting things that were bigger and better, like if her neighbor got a new car, she would have to have an even more expensive new one. Crap like that nobody but her even cares about. Her personality sucked, so nobody really liked her or invited her to anything, and when somebody did end up having a get-together, like my neighbor Jay having a big Super Bowl party one year and inviting almost everybody on the block aside from Karen's family. I had a pool, and that was something she could not outdo because HOA members were not allowed to have pools. I knew she was angry about that, and possibly one of the reasons she bothered me to join so badly, so she could force me to get rid of the pool since it was not allowed in her mind. Instead, she decided that it would be a smart idea to decide that my pool was HOA property basically, and that any of the HOA members were allowed to go into my backyard and use it. I did not know until I had to explain to some people that it was private property, and I put up a sign. I did not really have any issues with 95% of the people that were told they could use my pool, understanding that their HOA was wrong. They would apologize and leave or read the sign and turn around. I was not going to really go after a bunch of people that did not know. Now Karen and some of the other HOA board members refused to listen, and I knew when I wasn't home they were sneaking in my yard to use the pool. I then went up to Karen and did not tiptoe around the problem when I finally managed to get her to open the front door. Me, stay away from my pool. Karen, that pool is for the HOA members. Me, I don't care what your deluded mind decided, but just because you say something does not mean it is law. It is my private pool and you need to stay away from it. She seemed to agree to stay away, but I had a bad feeling about it and felt like this was not going to be the end of things, and it wasn't. I then went away for 2 weeks on vacation, and before I left I decided to install cameras because I was still worried about Karen potentially sneaking into my pool or something. I was gone for a week, and on day 4 I got a call from my neighbor Jay letting me know that he saw a ton of people going into my backyard and using the pool. I asked him if he could take some photos and tried to ask somebody if they knew what was going on for me. He really is a great guy and reported back later that the HOA had taken down my sign and started to tell people that I had moved, and the HOA now owned the property and the pool. Jay was able to explain to most people that the HOA was lying and I was going to come back. He even added a nice touch, saying that he took pictures and anybody that did not leave the pool I was going to have arrested for trespassing. That got most people cleared out aside from the HOA problem people. He asked me if I wanted him to call the police, but I had a better idea and told him I would handle things when I got back. I also thanked him and made a note to bring him back a little present from my trip as a thank you. We need less Karens and more Jays in the world. Anyway, I got back home and had all the security footage showing the HOA board people and their families showing up multiple days that I was gone. I decided not to announce that I was back home since my flight was back early and it was only like 6 AM when I actually got back to the house. So in my garage I have chlorine for the pool. I dragged it out and put all of it inside the pool. I've heard of pools being like super chlorinated and people needing to be careful. So then I put more than that, even to the point that nobody should go in through the water anymore. I put my private property sign back up they had gotten rid of as well. In addition, I put a "Don't enter pool" sign visible to the security cameras. I was too jet lagged to sleep and put on some Netflix to relax and wait to see if anything happened. I heard the screams of Karen and her 2 teens from my backyard. They were outside the pool but wet, so I knew they had gone in. They could barely have their eyes open, and when they did, they were red. Karen was screaming at me. I stayed perfectly calm though. Karen, what the hell did you do to the water? Me, oh, I put some extra chlorine in it. I was not planning to swim for a few days until it was safer. Karen, we were in it. You could have killed us. Me, you should not have been in it. I have a sign on the gate saying private property and another one saying to stay out of the pool. And I did not invite you over. Karen, the HOA members have a right to use this pool. Me, they don't actually, and we had a whole conversation about it already. What I recommend is letting everybody know that this is not a public pool. Otherwise, they might end up complaining and blaming you for any problems. There's no lifeguard here, so if somebody drowns, that's going to actually be the fault of the HOA. Karen, I'm gonna sue you for trying to kill me and my kids. Me, you have the right to do that. But I have the right to sue the HOA back for trying to steal my property. Plus multiple trespassing charges on everybody that showed up at one point or another, since I have it all on tape. She then left and didn't press charges due to my threat of countersuing the HOA and basically destroying them. I did not want to do that because I had no idea if I would also get in trouble for my revenge, and I didn't want to risk it. I felt the minor damage I caused from the chlorine and the fact that she was now leaving me alone was enough of a win. Nobody has tried to come in my pool without an invitation since then, and Karen has been actively avoiding me, which is great. Moral of the story is, don't swim in pools that belong to other people. Also, if you want to be a good neighbor, don't act like Karen and instead be like Jay. And the next one is a story from r/pettyrevenge, and it is titled, My time is just as important as yours. So, my wife and I moved into a newly renovated building. The first 4 floors were there already as a sort of former slums. The building was renovated and had 3 floors added. We are in the new floors. There's a bit of tension between some of the new residents and some of the old ones. Mostly, it is about communal resources. The old residents are lower income and have a mentality of not wanting to spend any money at all, even though they agreed to the renovation, gained extra rooms for their apartments, an elevator, etc. One of the contingency points is over the building's front yard. They don't want to pay for a gardener, even though it works out to be about $10 a month for each household. To be clear, we don't own the apartment, we just rent, but I get that some people have a hard time making ends meet and thought I would take their yard as a project. One of the neighbors, Danielle, keeps starting arguments in the building's group chat. She keeps writing crap about the old residents needing to respect the new residents more and about how much she spent on her apartment. She started complaining about the yard endlessly, and she also orders food a lot, and due to a mix-up I'm always getting her orders and sending it over. And well, I'm a reserve soldier and I was called in for over a long stretch. During this time she kicked up a fuss that the yard looks bad. I apologized, explained I didn't have time to get to it on account of being drafted. She responded that her time is just as valuable as mine and she does not want to waste it talking about the yard. Well, then just don't. Well, this led to me noping out of the group chat. Did not feel like fighting, said farewell and thanks for the fish and left. I'm still doing the yard, but now at my own pace. Well, today, 2 bags of cat food arrived at my door. They were huge. They had her name on it. I put a letter on it that said, Dear Danielle, sorry, I did not let you know about the delivery. I would have, but I value my time just as much as you value yours. Good luck. I am way too happy about this. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. Please check out my podcast on Spotify by searching for Ripe Stories, and you will get early access to new stories and even some special episodes that you won't find anywhere else. I will see you again tomorrow.